I am born and raised in Idaho, and Idaho is pretty much synonymous with potatoes. Cold out there. I've just always been like so proud of Idaho. I went and worked at a potato factory for fun. I kind of had to beg them for a job because they didn't think I would fit in. So this is the inside of the potato. It's not super big. It's about 8 foot across on the floor and then about 24 feet long. And when I got it, it was just totally raw and finished, these big beams, and you can still kind of see like where it bumps out. It kind of looked like a Wells rib cage, and what the walls are actually made of is spray foam insulation. So there's nothing that you can attach anything to on these walls. And then I was able to carve out some of that, so I could push the bed further back into this space to clear up more room. And that's also what I did for these little nightstands. I didn't really have room to put real nightstands, so I took the reciprocating saw and just sawed in and formed them. And then this antler is from my original tiny house that used to sit here, which I think is just enough to make it stand out and kind of give it like an Idaho vibe. And then you have just a little seating area. I basically built 2 little stub walls so I'd have something to run my power in, to run my plumbing in, to have something wood to connect to. And I just cubbied this out before it got spray foamed. And I wasn't thinking that I'd put a refrigerator in it, so this was a happy coincidence that I was able to find a wine cooler, not a refrigerator, that could fit in that spot that I already had predetermined. And then I took a bowl and made it into a sink, drilled a hole in the center, and so there's just a little basic coffee station here. We got the tea kettle and local coffee. And then this is really cool. It's January here, so it's freezing right now. But this is basically a passive air system that keeps the potato cool in the summertime. And there's a little fan operation here. And since it's so thick, it really helps with it insulating. This place heats up in a flash. In 2013, I went on tour with this potato as a spokesperson for Idaho Potatoes for 2 tours all around the country. I saw, when we were doing the training, I saw that there was actually a door and you could walk into the potato. Originally the potato's door was from right here to right here, so it was about a little over 3 feet, so you really had to duck in, and then there were stairs that came down into it. And that door was hidden when it was riding on the truck. You couldn't see that there was a door, but we just kept all of our luggage and promotional gear and all that stuff in here. So it's just like a storage, kind of dingy, dark storage area because nobody ever saw the inside. But pretty much instantly I was like drawing out floor plans because I thought this was going to be done in 8 months and they're not going to know what to do with it. I'll put it in my backyard out here. I had a tiny house that sat right here, and this was kind of at the beginning, 2011 I think, of the tiny house movement. So it wasn't just your run-of-the-mill 97 square feet super small house, and I did it as an experiment, loved it, moved it out here and turned it off-grid. I've got the potato in front of me, the crane behind me, and I did the second tour. I still mentioned it to anybody that would listen that I would have this potato someday. Last year, they decided to upgrade to a more roadworthy fiberglass version that was a little thinner because this was an oversized potato. And I hit up the president of the commission and I said, hey, remember that I've been talking about this for years? What are you guys gonna do with it? They voted on it and they gifted me the potato. It is such an exciting day. I've been dreaming about this for probably 5 years. They thought I was crazy. So they had a big crane come out, lift it off of the truck and onto the pad. Here it is, in its final resting spot on the prairie. You know, just a gigantic potato in a field. And I'm going in and take a look, start planning some things. Okay, so my task today is to take down this metal roofing. This is a bit precarious. This roof behind me is just hanging on by one screw, but if I take that down, it'll all land on me. So, got to figure that out, and then I got to take out all this wood bracing. This is what sucks about framing a potato that has no straight lines. Every cut is crazy. Basically just started blizzarding out here. This is not ideal spray foam weather. I have to cut so much foam. So I'm taking a bread knife and I'm going over all this wood here because this is what my floor needs to lay on. So the best thing that I found for cutting so far has been the reciprocating saw. This is where my little cadet heater is going to go. And there's can lighting and the aftermath of that. But now I'm going to give a nice coat of the fire resistant coating that you have to put on to get the fire rating. So this paint is thick, but going on this surface is very hard because it's so lumpy. Okay, so you can see how high up the door is. That's because the truck trailer used to come to here, and so it was level with that. This is what I've been waiting for. Been jumping up into the potato and out of the potato for 3 weeks. Now we'll have a little hill to walk up. Kitty came to town again. Look how beautiful it is outside. And we did the door out of old lath. This is all just very temporary so we could walk up there. How's that for some wiring? Ugh, I'm gonna leave this whole mess outside of the box until I test it and make sure everything works. Got the pendant lights to work, but not the can lights. So I'm gonna stop there and I'm starting to work on the floor. I had done this type of floor, which was cutting 1x4s, all these triangles of 1x4s a million times, and then gluing and nailing them to the ground. It's coming along. Decided not to brad nail it and just glue it and then weight it down. I had that in my original tiny house in just a tiny little foyer, but I always loved it and I felt like, oh, I still love it even though I did it that many years ago, so I feel like it will be timeless. Okay, I'm carving out these corners for the bed frame to sit. So the floating bed is in. The plywood on top hasn't been drilled in yet. It's cut out a little higher than the frame because the bed is a 12-inch mattress. Our cubbies are textured, but they need to be painted. My mom's painting between the floor and the wall. Got my outlet that will be in there and my faucet. I went around and measured every little cubby sort of organizer I could find, and this one I think will work good. So I got this wine cooler to be my little fridge because none of the mini fridges are this size, tall and skinny. I have the fridge pulled out here, and I'm going to try to drill through the entire potato to put this spigot onto the outside. I finally got something done! Water, people. Attach a drip line to it and it can feed all of the sweet potato vines that we planted. So I have these 20-foot pipes. They're gigantic. They're 8 inches wide, Schedule 40 PVC. That means You'd be able to drive over it and stuff. It's a few feet down in the ground. And so the idea, and so far it works pretty good, that air will stay cool in the ground where it's cooler and be able to suck up in here. And then I just have a vent behind the bed so that there is airflow even though there's no windows. The potato looks real. Lots of people think it's real. That's why I didn't want to cut any windows or skylights or anything like that into it. So when you come in, a lot of people think that it might be claustrophobic, but that's really not what it feels like being in this space. It's not huge, you know, it's about an 8-foot floor, and out here I think it's maybe 11.5 feet at its widest, and then the ceiling varies by feet because it's the shape of the potato, but it's pretty big. I have so much lighting in here. They're all on dimmers, so it really feels bright and airy. And then I have the whole airflow system, so it doesn't feel stuffy at all. That was the main reason for keeping everything light. The floor, I left pine, the walls painted bright white, and just using like the natural woods instead of staining anything because I thought it might bring the space too dark. Show you the silo. Sounds like a train's coming. When I got the potato, I had sketched out a bunch of tiny little bathrooms inside, but they were gonna be so close and so little that it wouldn't be a good experience. I was just looking at what does a farm look like, what kind of outbuilding could I do, and that's why I had come up with the silo. And I've always wanted to do a grain silo home anyway, so 2 birds with 1 stone. Whoa. After I sketched out what I wanted, I needed a very specific size, 14-foot diameter one, and that was really hard to find. It took me months.
Oh boy, might not use a roof, so shouldn't worry me as much.
Finally found this one. It was $1,000. I went with my brother. We drove about an hour and a half with a U-Haul trailer, thinking that it would be much bigger when we took it all apart, and it ended up, it probably could have fit in the back of a truck.
Current state of things. Got this top ring off, and we're trying to keep it in as many pieces as we can. This is the U-Haul that I got. So, trying to do the bottom ring right now, and that will expose the bolts to the ring that we just let drop on the outside. Look at how awesome this is looking. Got help? My mom and my dad and Katie. Last piece to go in. The silo is looking pretty big next to the potato. Almost finished the whole thing. Got a couple more rough pieces to put on. So here's the setup. Door to the potato. Inside, big round 4-foot tub. I also picked up a toilet today so I could get a better idea of where to build my interior walls. This project is definitely the hardest framing of anything because nothing's square. Bam, 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 all the way around. Now the silo won't go anywhere, plus there's gonna be a whole interior wall that will also be bolted or nailed to the floor, so I don't have to worry. I'm gonna try to talk over the wind out there. This isn't pretty, but we've got some wiring started. This is the box that we got in today. And then over on this side is a shower / storing everything. We got the curved wall in and sheeted. And the tub will sit in there, not the toilet. And that's my first go at the spray foam. And my battery died. Now I need to wait to charge everything.
You can see I do need it in a few spots. I was just really trying to not go heavy-handed because I need this to stretch because I have to do the whole ceiling and all the walls. I have the skylight, which on the grain silo, it's originally just like a metal cap. But what I found that worked for that was trying to buy a skylight that was round like that, and they were like $800, which is obviously not in the budget.
Okay, so does it look like it needs to go over that way?
No, it's looking really good.
Really? Because these don't seem to be...
But what I found was a little bubble that goes horizontal that's cut into a fence, so a dog can like stick its nose in and like look outside of your like cedar fence. So this was the biggest one they had, and it was far cheaper. I think it was like $60, and it just fit like a glove on there. So I just took some weather stripping, put it around, snapped it on, and then screwed it in.
Well, those ones aren't moving. That one's gone. I have one right here. And all of those are tight. Okay, let me show you where we're at today. First, you have to hop over trench 1, trench 2 to get over here. And there's so much junk outside, but I'm trying to get tile for this wall. I wanted a pebble tile, but all the stuff in stock, like the trend is to have it flat. Then I want like an old English cottage looking tile. I'm starting to grout this tile. I've been at it for like a couple hours, and this is how much I've got done. This is how much I have left to do. Oh my word. This has got to be the worst thing to grout ever. I chose the stacked stone, and I love the look of it, but it was one of the most tedious processes to grout. You had to like shove it into each section. It took forever. And another thing that I saw, and I just loved the idea, and I've never thought about it before, is putting the diverter over here instead of where it would normally be right under the shower head, but then you turn it on and you get splashed with cold water. So having it over here, and they come in two separate things, so you can literally put this anywhere that you can run your pipes to. So putting it here, you can wait a second for the water to get to temperature before getting into it, and I'm doing that forever now. Such a good idea. The floor is brick pavers, so they're only about a 1/2 inch thick, and they're set on top of a heated floor system. Typically, the heated floors comes in like a mat that's already pre-wired. That wouldn't work for here because it's round, but the Schluter system is like this mat that you glue down, and then the wire comes separately, so you can put it wherever you want your heat to be, which is amazing. I've got to figure out how I am going to plumb the bidet and the toilet sink. Here's the bidet. It looks like that you run it off of the sink hose, but because I knew I was doing the sink above the toilet, I didn't run separate plumbing for it. We got a shut off valve here, and we got a stop and waste. I got the niece and the nephew here building stairs. I got this door my mom picked up from Habitat yesterday because I need a big chunk of a shelf above my toilet. I'm just gonna cut it in half so it's more workable. I have no idea what this is gonna look like tomorrow. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out what to do here. I have extra parts of my door, but I had this triangular piece that is the excess from this piece, and I freaking love it. This kind of came together last minute. The day before, we had this huge grand opening. I didn't have like a shelf or anything for this, but I knew that I wanted the sink on top, just space saving here. It's the same idea as the sink I have in the treehouse in Hawaii. So this is the bathroom. Since it's off-grid, try to save water, I had this made, and it's a concrete sink meant to resemble a rock, and it weighs probably 100 pounds. It's really heavy. And so I took off the tank of my toilet, and I built this counter to go on top with this. And so what happens is when you flush the toilet, the water will actually come out of the faucet that I made out of bamboo
and go into the sink so you can wash your hands, and then it fills up the tank from there, so you're not wasting any water. Rude. Okay, anyway, it's still going. The stream is not big enough. It's been going for like 3 minutes. That's too long. Here I don't have a water restriction, it's on a well. It was more about the space saving. So this one operates the same way. When you flush the toilet, the water comes out the faucet and you can wash your hands while it refills it for the next time. I took this is a 5-foot trough, 4-foot trough, tons of gallons. And something cool about this, I ended up finishing it with an H2O Rust-Oleum spray paint. And so when it's full, it's really pretty. It has like a blue color. And then something that I didn't know about the faucet that I found out was that in order to fill this up, you want it to go really fast, but there's restrictions on shower heads and tub faucets so that they only do, I think it's like 2.5 gallons per minute, which would take a really long time for this. But I found out there was a difference in a faucet versus a tub filler. So this is a tub filler, which doesn't have that restriction, and I believe it's 9 gallons per minute. So this thing fills up really fast. And I have a 105-gallon water heater behind the wall, so you could have it like boiling hot. The fireplace here is a faux fireplace. It's an electric unit, but it does heat and you can adjust the flame level. And I kind of just built it as I went, you know, framed it out, and kind of knew what I wanted, but it also was what materials did I have. The ceiling, these rafters, they were old fence posts, and the ceiling's actually exposed spray foam. So I had a professional do the spray foam inside the potato, and when he did that, I thought, okay, I'll buy a kit and I'll see, this is gonna be covered for the most part, and I'll attempt to do it myself. And I did, and it was, it definitely saves a lot of money, but not nearly as pretty. But I wanted this to look like a thick plaster, and so after I had spray foamed it, I took a grinder blade, and it was filthy, and kind of flattened out everything before I painted it. So the fence posts I ripped in half on a table saw just to set those up to the ceiling to make it look like it had something else going on, kind of warms up the space. And then the day before the grand opening, we still didn't have a mantle or anything, and I had a few of these pieces left over, and so I thought, well, maybe this will work, cut it off, and then I just needed brackets, but we had 0 time to run to the store to get any brackets. And I'm working on the mantle, but I need to find railroad spikes. I know from previous times that you could really just look in this rock and be able to find some. Aha, see that? I just need a couple of these. Okay, so what I did was I very scientifically took my railroad tie, went in that far, made a mark, made another mark, and I just notched it out with the chop saw, just making a bunch of little lines. I just drilled a slightly smaller round hole and then banged them in. Then those will sit on the notch. And we had a mantle. They're just like, I mean, you can go walk along. They just, every time they replace the rail, they don't pick them all up, so they're everywhere. And then I took even the leftovers of that and cut them for the decorative logs underneath. Then the city came by, and that was probably the hardest, most challenging thing. Is I'm out here in the middle of nowhere. I've had a tiny house out here since 2010, 2011, and have never had any problems. I remodeled 2 structures that were already structures, so I thought I was all good permit-wise. But because I was going to have it as a rental, and because it had so many eyeballs on it, they basically shut me down. It was like so painful, the experience, but just every which way around it, I couldn't make it work. The problem that they had was that the bathroom was separate than the potato, and they don't have any code, I guess, that has a bathroom separate. The only solution that the city had was that I built an entire other house in order for the potato to be an accessory unit. So I finally just broke down, was like, what's the smallest house I can build? And I bought plans and I just submitted those, got them approved, and then I built that as fast as I could. It's still not completely finished. I just got it to the point where it was livable. And then I was able to rent the potato out.
She's a much better dog than my dog is.
She seems rather excited.
A lot of times when I'm building, I kind of want to show you a different side of the area that you're going to be staying. With the potato, I pretty much did the exact opposite.
I think it's mostly like leather-ish stuff. She makes a really funny face afterwards. Come on, look it.
Kind of did the exact stereotype, a cow and a potato, which is what everybody thinks is Idaho.
She'll curl up her nose and show like that she doesn't have her front teeth, you know? Like
Yeah.
I wasn't intending on getting a cow, but in the colder months, I mean, you're really going to be in here without being able to look out. So I just thought that there needed to be another element.
Here's Dolly's here.
And so I started running through like what farm animals, like chickens would be great, but they'd get eaten by coyotes. So I went through all the animals and I narrowed it down to a cow.
Oh, hi, Dolly. Hi, pretty girl.
I started looking on Craigslist for Jersey cows. I find one of like a cute like nose to the camera. I stopped by, I bought it that day, and she has just been like the best rash decision I've ever made.
Welcome home. Checking out her new home.
I thought I would get her, put her out here. Cows don't need anything, you just give them some food, it'll be fine.
Look at this tongue. You want some lettuce? This breath isn't great. It smells like romaine lettuce. That's her main treat that she gets from me.
I was sleeping out here while I was still finishing it.
Every time I go into the potato, she starts mooing at me to come back out.
Oh, there you are. What were you saying? Come on. Tell everybody. Hi, baby.
So the transporters dropped her off. They said when they got her that she cried for like 2 weeks. So like, don't worry, she's gonna moo, you know, incessantly. And I was here and she was mooing, and I went out in the middle of the night and pet her as many times as it took for about 3 days, and then she was good.
Do I need to get a harder brush or a softer brush, huh? Harder or softer?
But we are so attached.
Oh, I love you so much. Hey, I'm going to the store. She's mad at me. Someone's mad at me for leaving. I'm gonna go to the store. Dolly, I'm just gonna pick up some pizza. My mom's watching her right now while I run errands, which seems ridiculous, but last night was a pretty rough night. She didn't want me to go into the potato and would moo. I slept for about an hour and a half, and then she had like a really distressing moo. And I came out at about 12:30, and then again at about 3:30, and then again throughout the night. You're gonna be so tired. Good job, Dolly. Good girl. You silly cow. I made her these, but I tried to position them close enough that she would rub in between them. But she just scratches her head. They're street sweeper brushes that I got off of Craigslist. It's literally.
Then I got the most friendly, cuddly cow in the world.
You want to demonstrate? No?
Because I'm so in love with her, I'm in Boise as my home base, and I'm here about a third of the year. So I am gonna make my permanent house out here, and I've designed it to have windows that open up like the giraffe hotel in Kenya where the giraffes stick their head in while you're eating. I've designed that so that Dolly can stick her head in and we can hang out. I think it's safe to say that I'm obsessed with my cow. I was just checking off this list that I made earlier, and I don't even think I did this consciously. It's funny.
Having the opportunity to build inside the potato is just a playful, fun thing. What I really like is the challenge of building unique things. And even further, I like building an experience, which can happen in a typical build, but to really take people out of their normal life, out of their routine and comfort zone. I think building these odd structures, I have a bigger opportunity to do that.
Dolly is just running full speed for no reason. Dolly, what are you doing? For no reason that I can tell, except for the trains. But they come by a million times a day. Look at her go. What? She is the best creature ever.